So thank you all for taking some time to connect with us this evening to learn about the Child and Adult Care Food Program. My name is Kayla Snyder. I am a CACFP Outreach and Engagement Specialist with Hunger Solutions New York. So I work on CACFP outreach across the state. And I'm joined here by Jessica Dean, who is a provider. Jessica, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jess. I've been a provider for 26 years in Sullivan County, New York. I have a group family program. I have participated in CACFP for the totality of my time as a licensed provider, and I love the program. There's a lot of benefits to it, and there's a lot of things that you probably haven't figured out yet. So any questions you might have, feel free to throw them in the chat. I have one question for everyone tonight, and think about it before you ask or answer. What are your obstacles to joining the food program? Is there a particular reason why you haven't taken the jump yet? And what can we do to help that? How can we help answer your questions or make you feel more at ease about participating in the program?
Thank you, Jessica. So at my organization, Hunger Solutions New York, we work on CACFP outreach. And with our outreach over the last year or so, we've been piloting a CACFP ambassador program. And so Jessica is one of our ambassadors. She was chosen from a pool of over 60 applicants. We have 10 different ambassadors representing different modalities of care in CACFP to really help us understand the barriers to participating in this program and to really help us understand the ins and outs of how it operates and informing not only our outreach, but some other activities that we are doing to help boost this outreach. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. There's a brief agenda on your screen. I'll give a background of Hunger Solutions New York. I will talk a little bit about child hunger in New York State. I will review CACFP and eligibility criteria. And then I have some additional resources for you, and then there will be some time for questions and answers. But as Jessica said, please feel free to either come off mute or put your questions in the chat box as well throughout this session. Gina, I see your question, and I will answer it in just a few slides. Thank you. So as I mentioned, Hunger Solutions New York is a statewide outreach organization. So we work to expand awareness of, support for, and participation in the federal nutrition programs. So including CACFP, but also SNAP, WIC, school meals, summer meals, and more recently, summer EBT as well. So what does that look like as an organization that works across the state? We connect with a lot of different programs, including Quality Stars New York, to really leverage that relationship and connect with their network of providers to really get the message across that this program is here as a resource to you all to really help make your programs as best as they can be. So we offer a bunch of technical assistance on all the programs. People are always more than welcome to connect with us and reach out if they have questions. We love to connect folks with peers like Jessica, folks who are, running these programs, and they really know the ins and outs of these programs. We also create and share different resources as well as information and best practices to make sure that everyone is aware of flexibilities or different options you may have with all of these nutrition programs. And then we also do some state and federal advocacy for improvements to these programs. So we all know, based on the communities that we serve, that most communities experience food insecurity. And food insecurity is defined as a lack of consistent, dependable access to nutritious foods needed for an active and healthy life. In New York State, about 1 in 5 children are food insecure. And we know that food insecurity has been shown to impede physical development, as well as impact social, emotional, and cognitive development. And we know that that's really important in these first couple of years of children's lives, right? These sort of critical years. And we also know that food insecurity can contribute to poor health outcomes long term. And many of us are also aware that our low income and communities of color are often disproportionately impacted by food insecurity. So what is the Child and Adult Care Food Program? It is a federal nutrition program. It's funded by the United States Department of Agriculture, and each state will get money to help administer that program. In New York State, the program is administered by the New York State Department of Health. And we know in New York State, but also across the nation, it is underutilized. A lot of providers do participate in the program. New York State is actually among one of the states that's doing better as far as participation is going. But there's still a lot of room for improvement. There's still a lot of providers who aren't aware of the program or just unsure if the program is the right option for them. So on your screen right now is a little bit of data about meals that were served through CACFP in New York State in 2022. And about more than 7 million meals have been served per month in 2022 between home-based childcare providers and childcare centers. That's a lot of meals that are going to ensure those kids are getting nutrition while they're in care all day. And we know too, we talked about food insecurity, and we know how much that impacts our communities. And so in a lot of cases, or in some cases, sometimes the nutrition that the kids are getting at program is some of the only nutrition that they're getting. There are many benefits of CACFP. We talked about how food insecurity can impede those social and emotional development skills. So it helps not only with that, but also helps develop lifelong healthy eating habits, right? If kids are able to access fresh fruits and veggies at a young age, they're more likely to enjoy them later on into adulthood. So it improves those eating habits, it improves nutrition security, it helps offset the cost of food, not only for you as providers, but also parents don't have to worry about packing a snack or a lunch to send kids with the program every day. And then you as providers don't have to worry about spending additional money to help make sure that you're meeting the nutritional needs of children. And then through CACFP, providers can also access additional trainings and support from either the Department of Health directly or their local sponsoring organization. And you all, as Quality Stars participants, know that participating in CACFP is an indicator of quality care. So there's that PH4. PH4 is where the provider is promoting the consumption of meals and snacks that are meeting the CACFP meal pattern for the ages that they serve. So if you're already promoting those types of meals, and you're already doing most of the work. You're connecting those kids with that nutrition, so you might as well look into participating in the program to get that reimbursement to help your program. So CACFP reimburses childcare providers for healthy food served to kids 12 and under in eligible care programs. And there's also an after-school component, which I won't get too much into today, but sometimes some childcare centers are able to participate in that. Who is eligible to participate? Nonprofit childcare centers are able to participate. If your childcare center is for profit, then at least 25% of the enrolled children either need to be receiving tuition subsidies or they need to be eligible for free or reduced price meals. Most family and group family daycare home providers are eligible to participate, and then legally exempt providers are also able to participate. So Gina, you had a question about your families. You said only 10% of your families are subsidy families. Would you qualify? Do you operate a childcare center or a home-based program?
A childcare center.
Okay. So, I mean, based off that, I would say maybe not, but what I would encourage you to do is connect with the Department of Health to really just have a conversation with them and see, just to ensure that if you are able to participate, you can look into participating, or they can definitively tell you whether you'd be eligible or not. But I would definitely connect with the Department of Health to get a sort of final answer on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I know it's a little bit difficult sometimes with for-profit centers too. Sometimes that percentage can fluctuate over time too. So I think it's always best to connect with DOH and learn as much as you can. And they're ultimately the folks who make the decisions. So how does CACFP work? Once you are able to participate in the program, once you've applied and you've been accepted, you will serve meals that are compliant with the CACFP meal pattern. You'll track how many meals are served, and then you request reimbursement on a monthly basis. And then you will get reimbursement on a per snack and per meal basis. So CACFP will reimburse for 1 meal and 2 snacks per day, or 2 snacks and 1 meal per day. So what does the meal pattern look like? If you're Quality Stars participants, so you know what that meal pattern looks like, right? So meals need to contain 5 components: a meat or a meat alternate, as well as a vegetable, a second vegetable or a fruit, a grain, and then also milk will need to be served with the meal. And then snacks only need to contain 2 of those components. So the example on the screen right now is a meat or a meat alternate and a vegetable. Hummus and cucumber slices is the example. There are a lot of different ways to be creative with the menus that you serve and serve children a variety of different options. And providers can get meal reimbursement for children through the age of 13, but also infants, even if they're still breastfeeding, children of migrant workers ages 15 years and under, and then childcare centers if they're serving children with disabilities up to 18 years, provided they are primarily serving children 18 and under. And again, there's an at-risk component that some centers might be eligible for. If you are a center that is eligible for that, I would encourage you to connect with the Department of Health to discuss maybe if you are eligible for that program or not. The criteria is a little bit different regarding who can participate or not. So on your screen is a sample reimbursement for a childcare center. So the example is 25 children receiving lunch and 2 snacks over the course of 20 days. And so there are different reimbursement rates depending on the needs of your program. So I use the free reimbursement, which means that all of the kids in care qualify. They don't need to pay, their income has been deemed that they don't need to pay for meals, right? So for centers, lunch and dinner, the reimbursement rate is set at $4.43, and the snack reimbursement rate is set at $1.21. These reimbursement rates do get updated annually, usually end of June, beginning of July, by the USDA. And again, the CACFP will provide reimbursement for two meals and 1 snack, or 2 snacks and 1 meal per day. Deborah, I see you put a comment in the chat box. Your families pack a lunch, but you serve 2 snacks. We do not have the capability to cook meals. Can we still do the programs just for the 2 snacks? I think that is really, it's up to you. Of course you can, but I think you have to sort of think through the pros and cons of operating the program and maybe have a conversation with the Department of Health. Maybe there would be, an opportunity at some point for you to work with a vendor to expand to be able to get either vended meals. But I would say, yes, you can definitely still participate in the program. Now there's an example on your screen for home providers. So for family daycare home providers, there are 2 different tiers of reimbursement, Tier 2 and Tier 1. Tier 1 is the higher rate of reimbursement. And so for homes, the Tier 1 for breakfast, the reimbursement is $1.66. The lunch and supper reimbursement is $3.15, and snack is reimbursed at 93 cents. So reimbursement rates are different regarding what modality of childcare you're providing, whether you're a center or a home. And then also, again, with homes, there's those two different tiers of reimbursement based upon the community that you live in or the needs of the children that you serve.
Kayla, I just want to interject for a second on that. If you live in a community that has high food insecurity and your school district receives free breakfast and lunch for all students, you will almost always qualify as a tier 1.
Thanks, Jessica. There are a couple of different ways that you can get qualified for that tier 1 as well. I know with the passing of or the expansion of Healthy School Meals for All, many schools are able to serve free lunch and breakfast to kids. Some communities are still, they come in sort of at the lower end of that spectrum. So I always encourage you to connect with your sponsor and to really understand and make sure you're looking at all the right criteria. Typically, communities are eligible that way, but it can sort of be different based upon the community that you're in. So I've talked a little bit about sponsors. If you are a home-based provider, you will need to apply for CACFP through a local sponsor. Those local sponsors are usually your CCR&R, your local CCR&R who helps with licensing. They can also be other nonprofit organizations. They can be for-profit organizations if they are serving childcare centers. Sometimes they're educational organizations, and sometimes they're government agencies. So all home providers will need to apply for CACFP and operate through a sponsor. Not all childcare centers need to. There are some instances where it makes more sense for the center to operate through a sponsor. If you are a center and you're unsure whether that applies for you, again, I would suggest connecting with the Department of Health to have that conversation, and they'll be able to help you determine whether you can apply and enter into an agreement with the Department of Health directly, or if you'll have to go through a sponsor. So what do sponsors do? They're there to help with the administration of the program. They'll assist programs with the administration, but also reimbursement claims. They'll do your monitoring visits, and they're really there to help support you while you're administering this program to make sure that you're remaining compliant. They also offer training and guidance to really make sure you're getting the most out of your program. You can find your local sponsor online if you're not sure of one in your area. This recording will go out with all of these resources, so you'll be able to click on the link, or you're always welcome to call the Growing Up Healthy hotline as well. Jessica, do you have anything to share about working with a sponsor?
From what I've heard, sponsors do vary as far as communication with providers. I'm lucky to live in an area with a great sponsor. Sponsors are there to assist you to run the program and to answer questions, and they should be facilitating success for you to run CACFP in your program. And if it doesn't feel that way for you, I would reach out to the Department of Health and maybe problem solve that cooperatively. With that being said, my sponsor was really great about stuff. We have an online system that we use. It takes about 5 minutes a day to input my menus. I do it at the end of every day. And it makes it really easy just to keep it current. And that way you don't have a whole bunch of paperwork at the end of the month. And she's very clear about when the submissions are going to be, when they have to be in by, and when the cutoff is for late submissions. So those are all questions that you're going to want to ask your sponsor when you sign up, if you choose to do so. Other than that, I can't speak about anybody else's sponsors because I haven't met them. So
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, so everyone's going to have a different sponsor and likely a different experience. But I will say from working in my position, the overwhelming sort of response is that sponsors are great and they really help home providers administer this program and remain compliant, and offer that, technical assistance where it's needed, and help really connect their providers with additional resources that they may need. So there's lots of additional ways that you can connect with CACFP. You can subscribe to our newsletter. I'm always putting out different newsletters that have different information. We put out one every year about CACFP research and reimbursement updates. There is a CACFP week that happens in the fall, so there will be different ways to get involved with that and really put the word out about CACFP. Sometimes there's different opportunities to connect with other providers. And if you are someone who is participating in CACFP, I know when I looked at the registration, there were some folks on this call who are participating. So if you're participating and you want to share your story about participating in CACFP, we're always looking to collect those stories. It really makes a difference when we're doing outreach and we're talking to different providers to really hear firsthand what it looks like to participate in the program. And then I always encourage folks who are participating as well to connect with their representative. Some representatives aren't familiar with the Child and Adult Care Food Program, so it offers a great opportunity to educate them about the program and really sort of see it in action and help them understand the benefits, not only to you as providers, but also the children and families that you serve. Jessica recently had a representative visit her program over the summer. Jessica, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we invited Mark Molinaro in. He was for New York District 19. And he came in and he visited with us for about an hour. We discussed the needs of the children and families in our community, as well as the importance of the CACFP and a bill that he was sponsoring in the Farm Bill to add an additional snack to the CACFP reimbursement for providers. Unfortunately, he did not gain re-election, so I have already invited his predecessor out, Josh Riley, and I'm hoping that we can have a sit down and have a conversation and keep the momentum going in this next term.
Thanks, Jessica. I was going to ask if you invited your new congressman.
Him, our new representative, our new assembly person, all of them.
Fabulous. Great. Like I said, it's a great, some folks, they aren't aware of this program, right? And so it's a really good opportunity to educate them and really highlight the great work that you're doing as program operators.
And the importance of well-fed children, because not everyone understands the science or is aware of it or understands just how deep food insecurity reaches in our communities. And it really is important for them to understand the importance of these kind of federal programs to help us help the kids.
We like to phrase the Child and Adult Care Food Program as a work support too, right? Families have a safe place that they can send their children during the day, and they are ensured that they have access to nutritious and healthy meals every day. So it's a great work support too. You all, as childcare providers, are also trusted messengers to not only the children that you work with, but also their families. So we have a bunch of additional resources for you on our webpage that you can get to your families. If you know that there are some families in the programs that you serve that are struggling with food insecurity outside of your program, you can help give them information about WIC. We have some free resources that you can go and order. Sometimes folks like to put those on if you have like a community bulletin board, and then families can access them when they need them. If you're a center and you have a backpack program where you send some food items home to kids over the weekend, some providers also find that that's a good spot to stick these additional WIC and SNAP resources. Hunger Solutions New York manages the Nutrition Outreach and Education Program. So we have subcontractors all around the state who work in different community-based organizations to connect with folks in their community. They can screen them for SNAP eligibility, but also help them apply for SNAP. So if you have a family that is maybe in need of some SNAP support, you can encourage them to visit foodhelpny.org, and they can locate their local SNAP assister and they can connect with them. All of these services are free and confidential. They have a really great relationship with their local social service office, so they're able to see that SNAP application from beginning to end to make sure there are no troubles getting that through. And then lastly, children who are, maybe they don't go to program during the day in the summer, there are always summer meal sites all around the state too. And so that's another good option to really make sure that other kids that you aren't serving and the families that you're connecting with they're also able to get that nutritious meal during the day. There are a lot of drop-in sites, and kids don't have to sign up or anything. They can just show up at the site and get a meal for the day.
I just wanted to add something to that. In our community, our public health department had put out this really great community resource guide. And if you don't know if your public health department has community resources available, I would give them a call. Ours is a nice little book. I'll try to show it to you. Can you see that? It has everything from food pantries to helping.
Jessica, try and bring it closer to the camera.
Can you see
Maybe a
that?
little closer. Keep
I'm gonna see if I
going.
can turn my camera around.
Oh, gotcha.
It's really hard to do it this way. I don't know if I can turn my camera around on my phone. Yeah, I can. Hold on. Is that better? Yeah,
No.
that's better. Not really. I don't know why we're having such a hard time zooming here. Maybe it's too dark in here. Maybe here. Yeah, it's not showing, but I'll take a picture of it and put it in the chat. But it's this really nice little book, and you can I have it here in my wall for my families to look at whenever they need it. They can just pull it out and take what they want out of it and take the information or take a copy. We have a bunch of them. But I'll take a picture of it and see if that works. A screenshot maybe. Oh, well here, that's the problem.
There it goes.
I had you on blur. So there we go. So this is a really cool guide, and it has like everything you could possibly need for your community. Just at your fingertips. So public health in a lot of communities has these now, and it has everything from the child care councils to everything. So food pantries, all of it. So parents don't even have to ask. They just know where to look for it in case they're a little embarrassed about their current financial issues.
Yeah, there's oftentimes a lot of stigma associated with participating in these programs, unfortunately. But they're there for people in need to use them when they need it. So kudos to Sullivan County Public Health because that is a really great resource. And Jessica really highlights the impact that your local community can have on making sure that the needs of the families that you serve are being met. There's a ton of resources throughout the community. Your quality improvement specialist with Quality Stars New York is also another great resource. They know your communities better than I do, certainly working from the state level. So always feel free to connect with folks in your community as well. So next steps, if you are unsure if you want to participate in CACFP, you can find more information on the Department of Health website. You can connect with your quality improvement specialist. You can also screen for eligibility if you're unsure if you might be eligible. The Department of Health has a handy tool. You can go through and answer a couple of questions. And then at the end, if you're deemed to be eligible for the program, there will be information to connect with someone from the Department of Health, and they can call you and get started with the application process. If you're a home provider and you know that you want to apply for the program, I encourage you to connect with a local sponsor. Typically, like I mentioned earlier, it's your local CCRC, or you can use the sponsor tool to look up another sponsor in your area. Another good resource for that, if you're not sure, again, is your quality improvement specialist. And then childcare centers, you don't have to apply through a sponsor, so you can connect with CACFP at the Department of Health directly through email. The email is on the screen. You'll email cacfp@health.ny.gov using the subject line Outreach Coordinator. And if you're unsure if your center will need to participate under a sponsor, that will be a great opportunity for you to talk with the Department of Health to learn sort of what your best options are. And then lastly, as far as menu creation goes, I know the folks that I talk with who are operating this program are always looking for new and exciting recipes to incorporate into their offerings. So the Department of Health has a really wonderful crediting handbook that outlines a ton of different creditable foods through CACFP. There's also a food buying guide for programs who have centers who have a bit more buying power through the USDA. That's a great resource. And then the Institute of Child Nutrition has what they call a child nutrition recipe box. And so the recipes that they share on there are all compliant with the child nutrition programs. And so there's some really great ideas if you're looking to check out something new.
There's also a bunch of really great CACFP social media pages. CACFP Sponsors Association is one of them, and they get lots of great menu and theme ideas for holidays. And it just pops up on your feed, so it's really convenient.
Yes, they're a great resource. I will share in the chat too. I'm doing one last session tomorrow for programs who currently participate in CACFP. So let me, and it offers some additional resources, some additional, ways to really maximize your participation in this program.
A little side note for people that might be on the fence, I utilize my CACFP dollars to purchase our crop share from a local farm. And we are provided with 26 weeks of farm fresh veggies and fruits and spices and all kinds of goodies through that crop share. We can also use it, and we have used it to buy seeds for our daycare garden. And the kids grow their own produce, and they really love that, and they get to eat it, and they have a great time. So the CACFP dollars can be used very creatively if you choose to be a program that utilizes them, and you can really do a lot to help improve the nutritional outcomes for kids.
So I just put that tomorrow's webinar in the chat for you all. And that's a great segue, Jessica, because we talk a little bit about farm to CACFP in that webinar and different ways that programs can get started and incorporate that into their program. I know farm to CACFP sounds a little bit daunting, but you can really start small and really sort of, go from there. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged productive farm the first time you try it out. So if you're interested about different ideas to really, make sure you're getting the most of the child and adult care food program, I encourage you to register for that webinar. Even if you aren't able to attend, you'll be able to get all of the follow-up resources as well. So that concludes the information that I have for you all today. Certainly, if you have any other questions or comments, you can put them in the chat, or you can feel free to come off mute as well. But there's some extra time for questions. Kathy or Jess, did you have any last questions, any last comments that you wanted to share with this group?
My only last comment is if you're unsure about CACFP or you have questions that you don't feel comfortable asking right now, Kayla can share my information with you. You can ask me privately. We can have a conversation. I am very passionate about feeding children well and making sure that they learn that, apples don't come from Walmart, they come from farms. So I will go through every step with you if you need me to do that. I fully support other providers.
Jessica is a great ambassador. Sorry, Gina, go ahead.
If we are interested and we qualify magically, what are the first steps?
The Department of Health will let you know what the first step is. There's an application process you'll have to go through and some different information that they'll ask of you. And then there's also some trainings and stuff you'll have to attend. So they'll be the sort of as far as the best next step, they'll be your guide to walk you through that.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Excellent. Well, if there are no other questions, we can, end our call now and you can all go back to your very busy lives. I thank you again for taking some time to connect this evening. I know you all wear many hats, so it's really great to see you all join us tonight for a little bit of information about CACFP.
Can I
Again,
ask?
sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So if you are a daycare center, I know in the past, when we started 20 some years ago, we sent out surveys and parents had to list their incomes and so on to see who was eligible. Um, Other than families that are on, DSS from different counties in your daycare center that obviously are eligible, is there any other way to find out if any other families are eligible other than, asking those very personal questions on those surveys?
That's a great question. Yeah, I don't know that I have a great answer for you right now. Jess, did you have something to add?
I know that our sponsor for family programs has been very creative with making sure all of the programs in our community, which has a lot of, I think we have an 18 or 19% rate of food insecurity for our kids here, getting us all qualified as tier one. And she's used all kinds of different demographics, subsidy participation rates, school district information. So I know that there are different avenues, but you would definitely have to talk to the sponsor that you would choose to find out what those avenues are and how to qualify you.
Okay, yeah, because I used to be group family daycare about 30 years ago, and we were on that program. But daycare centers are much more dynamic and different, especially when you have 100 children. It's harder to meet those quotes. And if we did have 25% eligible, would it be just the 25 that gets it, or does the whole program get it?
Your whole program should be able to access it, yeah. And
Okay.
sometimes, like I said to Gina, if you are unsure, I really, even if it ends up being no, I always encourage folks to connect with the Department of Health. Like I said, they're going to have the last say in that, and be able to walk you through some different avenues, like Jessica mentioned, about to get folks qualified. And we know too that that changes from, sometimes even from month to month. So it's always good to double check and make sure that you're, exploring all the ways in which that you might be eligible.
Okay, sounds
What
good.
I was
Thank you.
going to say is the demographics, obviously, over a 26-year period, significantly change. They can change from one year to the next. So I would absolutely try and see if you do qualify, because it can be a tremendous benefit for you as the provider. And again, it does help to alleviate some of the stress on the families that are currently packing and paying for the lunches for their children.
And the income guidelines for CACFP also have changed over the last 26 years. Along with those reimbursement updates, those income guidelines for families are also adjusted every year as well. Great questions, everyone. Thank you. Awesome. Any last questions? Certainly, if you have any other questions, I will share my contact information. I'm always here to connect. As I mentioned, to your quality improvement specialist is a great resource to you as well. And the Department of Health directly too is always there as a resource for you all. So again, I thank you all very much for taking some time to connect tonight. And I hope that you have a great rest of your evening.